If you are on your journey to becoming a member of the RICS, don't you want to know how an RICS assessor reviews your submission and how they prepare for the final assessment interview? Knowing this can help you understand what the assessors are looking for so you can prepare in the best way. In this video, I'll be sharing with you how an RICS assessor should undertake a candidate assessment. I'll look at how they prepare for the interview, how they review the candidate's submission, including the case study, but also how they prepare their questions for the interview. Back when I was preparing for my final assessment interview, if I knew then what I know now, I would have been much better prepared. So I want to share that with you. So, your submission's in, and you're now in the hands of the assessors. So all you can do is prepare. There's a finite amount of time between when you submit and when you sit your final assessment. So you need to make sure that you're preparing in the right way. And when you're preparing, so are the assessors. Well before the interview, the assessors are contacted by the chairperson and they agree who on the panel will question which competency. Now the chairperson is accompanied by either one or two assessors. In the run-up to the interview, the assessor will undertake an initial review of the candidate's documents to get an appreciation of their background and their experience. Now they're also required to undertake a check of the documents to ensure it's complete, to ensure that the correct number of core competencies, mandatory competencies and optional competencies has been included, and they also check that the candidate has met the CPD requirements. In addition to this, they will also check to see whether there is any conflict of interest that exists between themselves and the candidate. When an assessor is reviewing your submission, they will be preparing their questions based on your experience. This is their brief. They are not there to ask you a series of general questions. They're there to test your competence, and their questions should be based on your experience and your declared competencies. They will be looking to identify the strengths and weaknesses within your submission, which will aid them in their assessment and the preparation of their questions. Now, in their preparation, they will no doubt be referring to the pathway guide just to make sure that they are up to date on the requirements of your competencies. Again, this is to ensure that their questions are relevant to your experience and your declared competencies. You will have included written statements within your submission against each of the levels for the competencies. Now, the assessor will use these statements to prepare their questions. It's important to know that the assessors are not to expect you to have the same ability of an experienced professional. All they need to do is to determine that you have met the required competency levels. The case study is an important part of your submission, and it's your opportunity to demonstrate your problem-solving skills, your professionalism, and your technical knowledge. The assessors will want to see that you've provided a clear evaluation of your case study's outcome. They'll want to see that you've reflected on the experience you've gained, noting any lessons learned for future projects and situations. When you're preparing your case study, you need to understand what the assessors will be considering. They will be looking at what was your contribution, not the contribution of your colleagues, not the contribution of your boss. What they're really interested in is what was your contribution. Now this will refer to the examples you've given and your case study. They will also be looking at what is the key issue or key issues, and have they been clearly identified? One of the most frustrating things is to review a case study and not know clearly what the key issue exactly is. So be concise. They'll also want to know whether you've considered the options and provided reasoned decision making when selecting the appropriate option. So be sure to be clear that you've done this. They'll also be looking at the quality of the case study's presentation and that you have prepared a solid written submission. Think of your case study as a report that you would provide to your client. It should be the same level of quality. They'll also look at whether your case study satisfies a minimum of one of the core competencies to level 3. The assessor cannot determine whether you have passed or failed prior to the interview. But in my view, it's essential that you provide the strongest possible submission that you can. The RICS states that an assessor's questioning technique is their most important skill. You can't control whether your assessor or assessors will have a good or bad questioning technique, but you can potentially influence what they ask you. So check out this video and look out for the set the bait tip. The assessors should signpost the competency before they ask the question. This is to help you understand where their question is coming from and the competency that it relates to. Their questions should be based on your experience, which may be based on what you've written in your submission, but they can also ask you open questions such as, can you give me an example of when you have? Or what would you do if a situation arose such as? Now these are harder questions to anticipate when you're preparing, but even after you've submitted, reread your submission. Try and identify any weaknesses in your level 2 and level 3 competency statements. Now if you feel that you are weak in those competency statements, then prior to your interview, have some real life examples that could potentially address these open questions when they come. The assessor should be practicing their poker face when you're giving your answer. They're advised not to give you any indication as to whether the answer you've given is correct or incorrect, as this could have an adverse effect on how you think the interview is going. This doesn't mean that the assessors need to act cold or emotionless during the interview. It just means that they shouldn't be nodding along when you're giving your answer, as this may suggest that the answer you're giving is correct. So if you're in your interview and you're not getting good vibes or positive affirmations from the assessors, don't let that bother you, don't let it throw you off. They're not supposed to give you any feedback as to whether the answer you're giving is correct or not. As soon as you leave the video call, the assessors will take some quiet time to reflect on how the interview went and review the notes they've taken. Now remember that this is a holistic assessment and it's not purely based on your performance in the interview. It's based on the balance of your performance overall. Now obviously the assessors need to be satisfied that you've met the required levels for each of the competencies in the pathway. The assessors will discuss the interview and your performance overall, and they'll decide on the day after your interview as to whether you've passed or will be referred. Now in the event that the assessors don't agree, the chairperson will cast the deciding vote, but if the assessors do agree, then the chairperson will not get involved in the decision. Your performance in the final assessment interview will have the biggest impact on whether you pass or will be referred. If you have a weak submission and you perform well in the interview, you can still pass. The assessors want to see how you conduct yourself, your professionalism, and whether or not you're a good communicator. Overall, they want to know that you're a safe pair of hands. I want you to remember that RICS assessors are not there to catch you out. When I received my RICS assessor training, we were told that our brief was to pass the candidate, and that the only reason we couldn't was if the candidate didn't meet the necessary requirements. I think it's really important that candidates understand that assessors are not out to get you. They are there to maintain the professional standards of the institution. A lot of work goes into preparing for a final assessment interview, believe me. They are giving up their own time to help the RICS with the assessments, and it's an entirely voluntary role. Assessors are trained, competent and experienced people who have a passion for their profession, and they're doing their part to give something back. I'm extremely proud to be part of the assessing community. Now if you've enjoyed this video and you think it's added some value, please help us out by hitting the thumbs up button just to let YouTube know you're enjoying the content, and if you haven't already done so, please remember to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so you get the notification when we release our new content. Thank you for watching, it's been great to have you. This has been Construct Academy.